Good news at the Black Label Society. The brand new white bleached bone nuts came in today. Beautiful. And that's going to go up there. And also the new zebra black and white pickups came today. And the bridge is 14.7 and this is the neck, which is 7.5. We're going to mount them on the test jig and test them first before we end up wiring anything in here. Oh, getting these things back in the bag is always a bit of a challenge because the bags are small and tight. So now that I have the nut, I can work with this. Although I did break the high E, I'll have to get, did I take them out? Yes. I took out my Orphe sacrificial strings. I'm going to put one on so I can adjust this properly. But before that, I have to get my X-Acto out and I have to start cutting around the poly that's built up all along the sides and along the back. So I'm going to do the sides first and then I'll take the strings off to be able to get along the back side with my X-Acto knife and see if I can get it nice and tight there. So that's the work. I'm also thinking of using my blade to scrape a little bit of the extra resin off the back. It's not that thick now, but I might be able to get it down like I did on the TE90 Harley Benton, just a little bit more without damaging anything, because right now it's not damaged. So I thought, well, maybe I'll do this. We'll see. You need to be really careful. You need 3 hands really to hold the body of the guitar and try to get into this groove gently between the poly and the nut. And also you got to worry about the binding that's here, not to cut that. What's tedious, right there, tedious, the corner is the trickiest part to get. You got to be slow and make a couple of passes. Don't try to do it all at once. This corner comes up here right on the binding. Whoops. That almost did damage, but I was lucky for a change. You got to make sure you keep your knife straight, because if you cant it to the side, poly is liable to chip. Now if it chips on the nut side, that's okay, because it's coming out anyway. If it chips on the wood side, not so good. Okay, I think I've got the corners good enough to break through that, and then I'm going to undo all of these strings. And when I do that, I like to make sure I have a card in here so that, you know, they don't take off the corner poly and ruin that up. Now that the strings are out of the way, take a good look at the back here. This plastic looks a little bit malformed down there, and it doesn't look like the wood underneath there is actually flat. Looks like there's a bit of a divot there, and that was covered by the truss rod and you can't see it, so they probably just decided, yeah, you can't see that, the cover's on it. Don't do anything about it. Also be careful about where your second hand is, because if you slip, this thing can be a nasty biter. that we like to tap gently. And I'm holding the nut with the back of my fingers as well, so it doesn't go flying off that way. So if it comes off easier, less chipping. If you hear the crack, then it's probably coming loose. I'm going to see if this corner is still holding a bit right by the binding there. Oh, I can get my knife right in there behind the nut. Oh, in front of the nut, I should say. So that's, it's not being held, oh, in there, but we're going to just go in there anyway. Okay, so it's the back. The back is still holding. And maybe the sides, but is it moving on the side? Moving in the front a little bit. Some things can go fast on doing work on guitars, but this work on a nut, no. Especially when you're trying to get one out. And especially when the poly is all up the side of it. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, there was quite a lot of glue underneath that one. And I did get a little bit of the plastic off, which is okay, because I'd rather do that than the paint. It's the first time I see a guitar that actually the truss rod is right underneath the nut. Usually they're a little bit further in. But it's on there. Front of the nut face, or I should say the fretboard face is clean. The binding came off pretty nice and straight. I'm just gonna, yes, I see a little bit of a leftover hanging edge here. Just give it a shave. Can always use a file for that as well. And yeah, there's a CA glue stuck in my wood down here. And that little knot right there is going to cause my nut not to sit flat properly. There we go. That's got to come out. It's going to be lopsided on there on that side. Yeah, and I was right. It does it does go down like that. And the paint and the poly is thicker up here in the center where it had to bridge it. And there's a little bit of binding there. Just needs to shave a tiny little bit. Just a lip. I think the other side is good. Okay, so I'm going to use my files just to run them in there and clean up the rest of the residue. And then we'll start to see what the new nut can look like. Where does it fall? Well, there it is. And then let's see how it is for size. Oh, the width is good. It's perfect. The width is perfect. Let's see what I'm looking at for height. How are my heights? Okay, good. I've got enough height that I'll be able to take some off the bottom and set the height for the strings nicely. Yeah, that new white nut's going to look perfect in there. Alright, we've got the nut in place. Looks like it's going to fit nicely. What I normally do is I leave the middle strings a little bit loose at this point and just tighten up the two end strings, and then I use my feeler gauge, 18th thou on the bass side to see how high it is over that, and then 16th thou on the other side to see how high it is over there. And that gives me an idea of how much meat to start taking off the bottom to get it close to my preferred heights, which is 18 on this side, 16 on that side. And then when I start getting closer, I start doing more fine adjustments at the top when it's really close. Oh, I also tightened that one because I didn't have a knee string when I put it on. So now that I have an idea, it's magnet. It's at least twice the height of this, which would make it 32. So if I find a 32 in here, if I can find a 32 or make a 32, there's a 25, 22, a 25. Well, I was going to go with a 22 and a 10, but I figure, oh well, I only have 11, so that makes it 33. There's no 10. So there's a 20, a 25. So I'm going to start with the 25. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over to my other bench. I'm going to put this on the flat surface, and I'm going to mark where the 25 is with my 0.3 lead pencil, and then I'm going to put it on my belt sander and try to take the bottom off to the level of this 25. Wow, my hands are not working today. Okay, arthritis, guys. And then when that's 25, and it probably needs to go a little bit more, so then I take my aluminum block with my rough and my smoother sandpapers here, and I do it manually. So this is a rough cut, something close, and then fine tuning with that. Wait for me. This was the easiest nut ever to do, because when I put it on my belt sander, you need one of these. When I put it on my belt sander and I drew that line with the 25, I want to revise that. Go at least a size down, like maybe a 22, because I stopped before I got to the line, and it turned out to be perfect on all the sides except for the G string. And the G string, I had to use my 24 file in order to take it down, and now they're sitting perfectly over the first fret, just like I wanted them to. And I didn't have to use my manual on the bottom at all this time. So, lucked out. What the hell, eh? How often does that happen? Never. I think this is the first time. Alright, so the nut is cut. The next thing to do is to leave that alone. I'm not going to put the new strings on it just yet. I think I might use these to glue the nut in place because it's sitting very nicely. And then when that's done, I'm going to flip it over and go after those pickups. Alright, I got her hooked up. And we're on our basic 65. We're on our bridge and we're not split. Maybe I can just put that down a tiny little bit like that. Yeah, we're on a bridge and we're not split, and got the forehead. And we are full up. Now that is better than the one that's on there. Bridge. Whoa. Neck. Better than the one that's on there. Bridge. Split. Yep, halfway, 7.2 something I think it is when it's split. Neck. Split, that sounds pretty good for the neck. Full. Let's take it down a tiny little bit and see what happens. Definitely better than the neck. These two pickups look like they've been manufactured by different companies, because the bridge pickup has completely different mounting hardware. The gauge of the wires are heavier, and these ones are half as heavy, I'd say, and very much lighter hardware than this one. These are very robust. So they look like they're made by two different people, even though they're manufacturers, even though they're black and white zebras. So they might have sourced these from different places, and I'm going to put the name of the brand that they call these up on the screen. Okay, so they're better than the EMGs. Now, here's something I've been playing with. On my table here, I have my gizmo. And I've been seeing what it sounds like with filters. So this is full bypass. I can take some of that top end off just by adding a 4700 cap and a 250K resistor in parallel with it in this bypass, in this filter mode. And I've got no boosts on anywhere. This is just pickups, okay? If I go to the neck, I figured out that I should have a 22 on that one. If I split it, so in the normal humbucker mode, I can add some filters and I can have some options beyond what they are as basic. And I think that's what I'm going to end up doing, is designing something where on the black label I'm going to be able to have the filters in, and if I want to boost it I can take the filters off. I'm going to think about it. But yes, these are wieners over the ones that came in the wild. Okay, now that the pickup decision has been made, and this nut, I think is secure now, we're gonna take the strings off of this, get that bridge out of there. No, okay, wait. Not taking all the strings off yet. I still have to do a little bit of trial and tribulation here with this saddle. I want to get it down a little bit more. So, oh, this white plastic nut. It's white, really white, but and it matches the guitar white. But the bleached nut is not terrible on its own. You know, not terrible at all. It's actually a really nice nut. It's one of the nicest nuts I've gotten. It's bleached, and it's really bleached, and the bone is really hard. They said it's buffalo bone. It was really hard, and it took a little bit on the belt sander to get it exactly where I wanted it with a 320 grit sandpaper, and I got it just to where it should be. And then all I had to do was lower the G slot, and everything else worked out perfectly. I didn't have to work the other slots at all. Man, that never happens. Okay, yes, I said I was going to do this. Oh, I'm going to need to lower the tension on these strings. I didn't tighten them all up, mostly just the ends and the middles, just to hold that nut in place while it was securing. Okay, so one more time, hopefully, is all I'll need to get this up and off before it comes off permanently, to try to get the saddle down a little bit more on the treble side. I found another screwdriver with the same size blade as the bigger one. This one's easier to handle. Can I get that off of there without taking the whole thing off? Let me see. That side came off. This side's going to come off too, right? 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 Yeah. Okay. Didn't have to take the whole thing off. Don't scratch the paint. Yeah, I got to go to the belt sander and take a little bit of this off here, because, yeah, it's not sitting exactly right on that side, even though, you know, it's down all the way. As far as I can get that. I wish I could tell you that it didn't take me 2 trips to the belt sander, to get it right, but I can't. It did take 2 trips, but luckily it was only 2. So now I've got the height adjustment. Oh, that one's still tight. Now I've got the height adjustment range that I'm looking for. Oh yeah, and my Orphe string broke. The sacrificial one. As I was loosening it, didn't last long. But it only had to last as long as I needed it, and that was good enough. That was good enough. So now it's going to end up being drawing a schematic and getting to work at bench number 2 to wire it all up together. Come on. Boom. There we go. So there it is. Just had to take a little bit of meat off that side just to be able to get it down in this little crooks here. It was just sitting off. It was sitting. How was it sitting? It was sitting so that this inside was too high or low to make it not sit flat on there, and now it does. So that's good. All right. I guess I can leave those posts there. They're going to be all right. All these strings got to go. Okay, off to the computer and then to bench 2.